So with the recent release of X-Men Dark Phoenix, I thought this would be a great chance for me to go back, watch all the X-Men films and rank them from worst to best. Now, I have already watched all of these films, so they're very fresh in my mind. They're very solid ratings that I have really thought about with, because sometimes you differ your ratings, you haven't watched it in a while and you go, I don't remember that being that good, or that was a lot worse than I remember it being. This is pretty much the solid hit rankings video. Maybe Dark Phoenix in a year or so may differ because it is so fresh and it's hard to judge a movie just straight on. But I'm going to try to do this list now, starting again from worst to best. No Deadpool movies. They just don't feel like X-Men movies to me. Even though there is X-Men in it, Deadpool's in it. It just doesn't feel like the same franchise, if that makes any sense. So I'm not going to include them, but I'm going to start with number 10, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Look, I think this is no surprise. This is the majority of people's number 10. This is the bottom of the bottom. I didn't hate this movie. I know a lot of people talk about, they're like, oh, you ruined Wolverine. Fuck you. Come on, you fucking shit movie. I was like, come on, guys, not that bad. I rewatched it and it's not good. It's really probably the only X-Men movie, and it's the only X-Men movie that I say isn't good. The rest of them I say are decent to amazing to really good. This is just not good. The CGI is just awful. Like, it's really, really poorly made. And, ruining Deadpool didn't help things. The only thing that I think they got out of it was, one, Wolverine. Hugh Jackman is phenomenal. He's always been fucking phenomenal. And Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth. Blanked on his name, as Sabretooth is such a step up from X-Men 1 when he was in that movie. I know that probably might be like a hot take because it's like, oh, he's so much more comic accurate. His character's so much more interesting in this Origins film. They're like the only two bright spots of a movie that's really, really bad. The CG was just so hard to watch, and that's why it's easily at the bottom of my list. Moving on to number 9, we have The Wolverine. Now, this might rile some people up, shake some feathers. I do not think this is the second worst X-Men film. I think it's my second least favourite. And I'll explain that when I get to the other ones. But I was not engaged by this movie at all. I did not think it was that interesting. I just didn't think any of the characters outside of Wolverine were just at all. Like, I just didn't care about anyone in this film. It does have some great action spots, and the movie does look very, very nice for the most part, the Tokyo setting. But I just didn't give a shit about this storyline. I think you could almost remove this and no one cares. You go through so much shit in this movie that I just don't care. And then the third act with like the robot fight, and I was like, nah, I'm not here for this. I know a lot of people are kind of on the consensus that it isn't as good, but I think most people do enjoy it. I enjoy it just, again, probably this up to about 6, so 9 to 6 are all in that like C+ range of movies that I enjoy, but they're just not as good as they should be, and this definitely falls into that category. I just think this needs to be more engaging, although the action on Wolverine does definitely work. Moving on to number 8, we have Dark Phoenix. Now, again, I just dropped a review for this. I can go on that I went 11 minutes on it, so check that out, cheap plug. And this could definitely flip, I think, to 9. I don't think it goes any higher, but I definitely think that was the one I was kind of playing with. It's recent. I think the edge just gives me that, though it is just scenes, it's the whole crew of X-Men that kind of pushes over the edge, that I got to see all these like characters that I did like, rather than just Wolverine in a shitty movie with characters I don't like. I think that's kind of why I ended up putting this a bit higher than the Wolverine. But I just talked about this in the review. I did like it. A lot of people hate this movie. I don't think it's awful. I just think it should have been a lot better. I think a lot more you need more structure in this film, I think, because there was parts that worked, but they just missed a lot of opportunities, and just not the great closing that you needed to this Fox Marvel X-Men kind of franchise. On to number 7, we have X-Men The Last Stand. Now, X3 is a very, very, very hot topic amongst people, because a lot of people didn't like the film. I didn't mind it. I thought it was decent. And then I think it's got a lot of like positive reviews now that Dark Phoenix has come out, because everyone's like, there's no way you can make Dark Phoenix worse than Last Stand, and then they did. So everyone's like, fuck, Last Stand isn't that bad. I think Last Stand just isn't as good. It looked worse because it followed 1 and 2 that were really good. So I think that's where it kind of falls off. I think at least why this is better than Dark Phoenix to me is that it has a ongoing plot. It has a structure to the film that we needed in Dark Phoenix. This one is like, yeah, we're going to try to get this cure, and then Jean Grey is going to show us why we need this cure and all this shit like that. And I think that has such a solid work of the film, although there are parts that are dumb, including killing off fucking Cyclops and Professor X so quickly in the film, as well as just, I don't know, just it just doesn't seem as great as the other two. It's still, I think it's still better than Dark Phoenix did it, although it is, again, these are all in that C plus range of, yeah, I can see where you don't like them, but I enjoyed them. On to number 6, we have X-Men Apocalypse. This movie, again, hot topic. X-Men films are generally like that. People were like, fuck this movie, and I'm like, they're not that bad, are they? I think most of these films are like, they're not really, really bad, but they're not really, really good. There's only a few in here, maybe 4, that I'd say are pretty damn good, and that's probably not a great hit range for a 10-movie franchise. But X-Men Apocalypse, I think I had fun with it. I think a lot of people hated on it again. I remember seeing it and going, that was decent, and then I hear a lot of people going, that was fucking shit, and I was a bit confused by that. I think it had good parts. I think they should have done a bit more with Apocalypse as the villain. Evan Peters' Sweet Dreams killed it. I loved that scene. Quicksilver is a really bright spot, and I just like seeing the whole X-Men together. That's why something, when you put them all together as like a full crew, it makes them more, and that's why some of the solo stuff is a bit lower down. But I did enjoy this film. It had parts I liked, and it obviously had parts I didn't like, but I can understand either side of them. On to number 5, we have something that started it all, X-Men. Now, this movie is obviously the start of the entire franchise in 2000 or 1999, whenever it was. That era, that kind of time, space, that time, you get it. It started it all, and it's pretty good. Pretty good start. It's not amazing. I rewatched it. People say it doesn't hold up. I think it does. It's obviously not as good as some of the stuff they can do nowadays, just because of the budgets and the CG and all the effects they can really apply to today's movie. But I think similar to the first Spider-Man, that's obviously not an X-Men movie, that kind of started the whole superhero franchise kind of bang, we're Marvel kind of thing, although it's not the MCU. And I think that's kind of the nostalgia factor, and how that it was the pioneer to this entire franchise definitely gives it a bit of a thumbs up for me. Number 4, we have X-Men 2. X2, however you prefer. This is the predecessor to the first X-Men film, and this crushed it. This is a lot of people's favourites. It was definitely a lot of people's favourites until you got to about 2011, until you got to First Class, and people started thinking about it, but there was probably still some people that said X2. Then it got to the Logan and the Days of Future Past era, and now no one really talks about it as much, but it's damn good. It's, again, similar to Spider-Man 2. It just bounced off what the first one did so well, made it even better, and I think it's such a great film. It's just a classic X-Men comic book movie, not trying to do a hell of a lot, going to deliver a dope movie, and I think they did. On to the top 3. At number 3, we have X-Men First Class. Now, I truly considered moving around all these 3. At one point or another, each of these top 3 were in the number 1 position. I think these are great 3 films, and X-Men is just the least great of the great, if that makes anything. I love this movie. I think up until a few years ago, I was just so pumped. After X-Men First Class came out, I was like, fuck, that's how good you can do it. Like, that's how best it gets, because this movie's fucking awesome. It was the introduction of James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence. It was awesome. They absolutely crush it. They hold this movie together. There were really damn good castings. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Azazel is one of my favourite X-Men characters. He was awesome. I liked Kevin Bacon as the villain. He wasn't, completely forgettable, but he wasn't memorable either, but he does his job. I just really, really liked this movie. I think this is such a great kind of, bang, we're going to restart with this prequel stuff. Bang, we're going to restart with this young stuff. And it worked every single time. It was really hard not putting this 1 or 2, because the other 2 movies are so great as well, but this is such a great movie, and I definitely think it's well deserving of every single person's top 3. On to number 2, Logan. Yes, you heard that correct. I'm the first person to not put Logan in my number 1 spot. I think this movie is so damn good. It is probably the best, most well-made X-Men movie, because it's almost not an X-Men movie. It's more of an action drama that just happens to involve the X-Men. We're going to make a superhero movie without making a superhero movie. It gives you so much feelings. It gives you so much emotion in this movie. Hugh Jackman is awesome. Patrick Stewart is awesome. The young girl, I forget her name, she was really good as well. I think this movie is really damn good. It was my number 1 of 2017. Any movie, I think this movie is close to perfection. But unfortunately for them, it's not making my number one, because my number one best X-Men movie of the Fox era is X-Men Days of Future Past. This was tossing up between 1 and 2. Let's be honest, it was. I was really pushing this for 1 because I think it's just an X-Men movie. It's hard to give me literally everyone. You got the original cast, you got the new cast in the same movie. You got this awesome story being told. Hugh Jackman leading the entire thing, crushing it. It was really, really enjoyable in every sense of the word. Again, the thing that probably pushed this to 1 over Logan, even though I think Logan's probably a better, well-made movie. It's that this was a whole team movie. It's a franchise. It wasn't just a Logan film. It wasn't a Wolverine film. It was an X-Men film. So you got to see so much more X-Men. It was just awesome in every single way. I think McAvoy and Fassbender are just ridiculously good. Adding Jackman as then, and then as well as the OG cast as well. I think this movie is really damn good. There was some awesome action scenes in there, awesome story being told, and just an awesome movie in general. Alright, that is my list, guys. Let me know what you think. I think this is a little bit different. I don't think you generally see Wolverine towards that below, 9. That's usually not what's going to happen. It was 6 through 9 can be interchanged, I think, in any way. I think there's a definitive top 5, and there's a definitive last. And I think other than that, you flip and flop them everywhere you go. But let me know below what your favourite X-Men movie is. If you agree with my list, disagree with my list, let me know below. Thumb it up, like it, that's what I mean to say. I'm mumbling, and I always do if I talk for too long, so I'll leave you at that, guys. Thank you guys for watching, but of course, have a good one.